Now, if you're training calisthenics, the most important thing that you need to know is your progressions. You can have the best programs, the best routines in the world, the best exercises in the world, but if you don't know how to scale them to your current level, you're setting yourself up to fail and not achieve your goal. So it's really important that you know how to progress each exercise and make it easier and make it harder. Today I'm going to go through 2 beginner intermediate ring routines and show you how to progress each of the exercises so you understand what I mean. So let's look at the first exercise in the first routine, which is the ring row. Now I've put here 5 to 8 repetitions. So first thing we need to do is test the level that you know already. So say I know my ring row is this level. I can touch the chest at the top, I can go all the way down, but I can easily get 5 repetitions. I'm holding a conversation, I'm doing lots of repetitions. So I need to know how to make it harder. If I can't get 5 repetitions and my technique goes, I need to know how to make it easier. So the repetitions are dictating the level that I'm doing. So to make it easier, we can just walk further backwards, and now the angle of the body position makes this much more comfortable and I can easily get my reps. But if it starts to get easy, I walk the feet down, go more underneath the rings. Now it's much harder to get the repetitions. I can elevate the feet. I can even go one hand. Now the same for the ring dips. So easier version is going to be hold a top support, come down onto tiptoes, come all the way down to the bicep or shoulder touches the ring, and then push back up again. Harder would be decreasing the amount of assistance from the toes. So I do the eccentric without the toe assist, and then I use the toes for the concentric. Band assist is another option, but remember we're trying to get those 5 to 8 repetitions. So exactly the same thing, start at the top, touch the ring at the bottom, back up again, see if you can get your 5 reps. If you can't, make it easier. If you can, make it harder. Next we have the ring assist squat. Now with the squats we can make them very easy or very hard depending on if we're working mobility, conditioning or strength, or a combination of all those things. So if your mobility is not great, we can start to play with trying to get an upright torso in your squat position, using the ring as much as you need to, exploring that position, raising the heels slightly. We can keep challenging the mobility aspect by going into an overhead squat type position, holding onto the rings. Or if we have good strength already, we can go into single leg variations. So up in the ante, and this is where 4 repetitions can come in, because I can do 4 on one leg and then swap over and do the same on the other side. Now, when it comes to this style of training, it's very common that you'll run into exercises that you've never heard before. So something like a German hang can be quite confusing to the body. It's common that people have experience around the bent arm pulling and pushing type movements like rows and dips and chin-ups. But these newer type movements can be very tricky because we don't know the movement itself, let alone the progressions to make things easier or harder. So for these newer movements like the German hang, we need to make sure that we're comfortable while doing the exercise, but we also feel okay after the exercise, and understanding those little incremental progressions to make things harder if it does feel okay. So with this one, I'm going to push down on the rings here. I'm going to walk through the rings, turn the hands, turn them again so palms are facing the opposite direction, come down onto my knees. So straight away this might be very intense, and I'll just hold this position. If it feels okay and I can wind it up a bit more, I'm going to sit the butt back towards the heels. So I'm holding this position. So it's sort of like a semi-active stretch. So I'm putting tension down on the rings. I'm feeling a lot of load through the shoulders, through the biceps. Then I'm just going to hold that position for 20 seconds. Progressions would be deeper, so sitting more down more. Regressions would be coming back out, making the position easier, and then you can work all the way up until you can hold in this position with full body weight. So that could be ring routine level 1. Now, 3 to 5 rounds. When we go back for our second round, we might be warmed up so we can push it a little bit harder, but trying to still stay in those rep ranges using the progressions that we know. If the opposite happens and we start to get tired as we go through those second and third sets, we might need to pull back to easier regressions of the movements to make sure we still get the repetitions. So again, that's where we need to know those 2 or 3 progressions for each exercise so we can scale it set to set, rep to rep, session to session. So now let's do another routine up in the ante. Let's go up to another level, but again, doing the same thing and looking at the progressions and the regressions of each one to make sure that we can hit those rep ranges. Now, when we look at these ring routines, we also need to adapt to our situation. So I've got 2 sets of rings, so I can set some up high, some up low. But if I wanted to do something like chin-ups and I don't have the height, I might have to do an L-sit chin-up. I might have to use a single ring, so something like this. So obviously the full movement with the chin-up is to come from a passive hanging position, to pull for an active position, pull all the way up to the top, and then lower with control. But remember, we're working in that rep range, so if I can get say 3 repetitions, but I can't get my 4th, and my rep range is 4 to 6, how do I get that extra rep? I could do a jump for the concentric and a slow lower for the eccentric. I could use toe assist on a box or a step. I could use a band assist. Single ring makes things easier from a mobility point of view. Look at the height difference. I can pull up much higher with a single ring. So it's easier to pull with hands close together than it is wide. And if I want to progress it, I can move towards one arm variations. Now the ring dip is in the program again. The rep range is slightly different. It's slightly lower. Now when you have a lower rep range, that means we can push the intensity higher. So if you was doing that first routine, you might have to do an easier progression to get the higher reps, but with the lower reps, you might be able to make it harder. So you could now be looking at doing the full repetitions, coming up to the top, even opening up to make it harder. So doing RTO dips, rings turned out dips. You could go to progressions towards yo-yo type movements where we're taking the elbows low. But that is pretty tricky and definitely not beginner exercises. But it definitely gets a point across about understanding the rep ranges and what that means to the intensity or the progressions of the exercises. Then we have the ring split squat. Now for this one, we use single ring, placing one foot in the ring, and then just doing your standard split squat. So keeping the torso upright, coming down nice and low, so you're getting lots of mobility there as well, and then coming back up again. Now that can be regressed by decreasing the range of motion or using support from 1 or 2 sticks. And then into one of my favorites, the skin the cat, probably the best all-round straight arm strengthening exercise. So we could start off in that German hang like we done in the first routine, so down in this position, and then just using toe assist to pull us out of the position, toe assist again to come back down. Build into going back in the opposite direction with lots of assistance from the feet, and then slowly decreasing the assistance. We can use bent arm for the concentric, straight arm for the eccentric, until we can do the full movement with straight arms all the way through. And then all we do is increase the height of the rings and start to open the body out. And then we're doing the same with the 3 to 5 rounds. So going round again, but you might need to change the regressions and the progressions depending on how strong you feel and how much energy you've got left, but making sure you stay within the rep range as you go. So the tricky part is knowing all the progressions and the regressions for each of the exercises. Now I'm trying to fill all those gaps on my app. If you find any that are missing, then let me know down in the comments. So for example, if we go into rings level 2, go to day 1, let's look at ring dips. You can press this button and then it gives you all the progressions and the regressions for each of the exercises, and you can just swap them out for that routine. If you are interested in the app, link is down in the description. If you have any questions, stick them down in the comments, and I'll speak to you in the next one.